He saved her from a predator, fixed her leaky faucet, and stole her heart, all while hiding he was a billionaire CEO. She thought he was just a kind stranger, but the truth shattered everything. When secrets exploded and her past resurfaced, she walked away until he made a public confession that stopped Times Square. Who is Gavin Miles, and why did he risk everything for Nora Bennett? This isn't just a love story, it's a story of trust, betrayal, and redemption that will leave you breathless. Where are you watching from? Don't forget to subscribe for more unforgettable stories like this one. The night air in Manhattan was crisp, the kind that made your breath visible and the city lights feel sharper. Gavin Miles stepped out of a black town car in front of the Sterling Hotel, tugging lightly at the collar of his navy coat. At 29, he carried himself with a calm kind of confidence. Nothing loud, nothing flashy, just clean lines, a quiet gaze, and a presence that didn't demand attention, but somehow always held it. He had just left a charity gala on the 48th floor, one of those events full of tuxedos, champagne flutes, and forced smiles. He hated those nights. People shaking his hand just a bit too firmly, waiting to mention his last name like it was a magic spell. The Miles name was currency, after all. Son of a Las Vegas tycoon, now the reclusive CEO of the Miles Group. But no one at the gala knew that. Gavin had slipped in and out unnoticed, as always. He cut across the marble lobby, eager to reach the quieter street and call a cab when a strange sound made him pause. A sharp thud, followed by a muffled voice. Something wasn't right. He turned down a side hallway, where the light flickered overhead. What he saw made his stomach turn. A young woman was slumped against the wall, her dark green dress torn at the sleeve, her hair a tangled mess. Her face was flushed, and she was mumbling incoherently, clearly not in control. Standing over her was a man in a hotel security uniform, but his posture was all wrong, aggressive, looming, hand tight on her arm. "Come on, sweetheart," the man slurred. "Don't play hard to get." "Hey." Gavin's voice cut through like glass. The man looked up, startled. "Let go of her." The guy scoffed. "Who the hell are you? Mind your business," he said, shoving Gavin in the chest. Gavin didn't budge. "Let go." His tone was firm, cold. He wasn't a fighter, never had been. But this was something else entirely. Before the man could throw another insult, Gavin moved, grabbing the guy's arm and twisting it just enough to make him yelp and stumble backward. Gavin stepped between him and the girl, shielding her. The woman groaned softly, trying to stand. Gavin turned, kneeling beside her without touching. "Are you okay?" She blinked slowly, her hazel eyes unfocused. I don't know," she murmured. "Where am I?" "You're at the Sterling Hotel," Gavin said gently. "What's your name?" "Nora," she whispered. "Nora Bennett. I think I had too much wine." "All right, Nora," he said, offering his hand. "Let's get you somewhere safe." She took it, fingers trembling, and he helped her stand. She leaned into him heavily. As they began to move, the man Gavin had stopped reappeared, this time with 2 hotel security guards. "That's him," he shouted. "He attacked me." "What?" Gavin turned, caught off guard. "No, I was stopping him. He was harassing her." One of the guards stepped forward. "Sir, we need you to come with us. The police are on their way." Nora's grip tightened on Gavin's coat. "Don't let them take you," she murmured. Minutes later, red and blue lights pulsed outside as NYPD officers arrived. The security guard spun a story about Gavin attacking him unprovoked. No cameras, no witnesses. It was his word against Gavin's. The cuffs clicked shut around Gavin's wrists. "This is ridiculous," he muttered, stunned. Then, Nora stepped forward, voice trembling but clear. Wait. He's my friend. He didn't do anything wrong. That guy was bothering me, and Gavin helped me. Please, don't arrest him." "You know him?" one officer asked. Nora hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, he's my best friend." There was a beat of silence. The officers looked at each other, then slowly removed the cuffs. "You're free to go for now," one said. "But we'll need statements at the station." At the precinct, Gavin and Nora sat side by side on a hard bench under buzzing fluorescent lights. She fiddled with a rip in her dress. "Thanks for that," Gavin said. "You didn't have to lie." "I couldn't let them arrest the guy who saved me," she replied with a crooked smile. "Besides, you don't seem like a creep." Gavin laughed, tension finally easing. "Good to know." They gave their statements separately. Hotel staff confirmed the man was a known problem. Gavin was cleared. Outside, the night had grown colder. Gavin hailed a cab and turned to Nora. "Where do you live?" Brooklyn. But I can take the subway. No way, Gavin said, opening the cab door. After tonight, I'm not letting you ride home alone. In the back seat, with the city lights flashing across her face, Nora turned to him. You didn't have to do all this, you know, he met her eyes. I'm not most people. The next morning, Gavin stood outside Nora's apartment holding 2 steaming coffees and a brown paper bag of bagels. He wasn't entirely sure why he was there. Maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was something else, a pull he couldn't shake. He had barely slept, replaying the night in his mind. The way Nora leaned on him, the way she defended him to the cops, the vulnerability in her voice. She had no idea who he really was, and yet she trusted him. That meant something. When she cracked the door open, she looked surprised, still in a worn sweatshirt and socks, hair tangled from sleep. Gavin? Morning, he said, lifting the bag. Peace offering. Also, caffeine. A flicker of a smile tugged at her mouth. You didn't have to. Yeah, he said, but I wanted to. She stepped aside and let him in. The apartment was small, cluttered but cozy, with books piled on mismatched shelves and a blanket fort of a couch in the corner. The kitchen faucet dripped into a bowl below it. That's been broken forever, she muttered, noticing his glance. Landlord won't fix it. Gavin rolled up his sleeves. Got any tools? Nora laughed. You serious? Dead serious. She rummaged through a drawer and handed him a rusty wrench. Knock yourself out. 10 minutes later, the faucet had stopped dripping. Nora watched him like he'd pulled off a magic trick. Okay, I'm impressed. Where'd you learn that? He shrugged, keeping it casual. Worked around a lot of hotels growing up. You pick things up. She didn't press, and he was grateful. They sat cross-legged on the floor with their coffee and bagels, sunlight cutting through the blinds. Nora talked more than she had the night before, her words a little freer now that the wine and fear had worn off. She told him about New Roots, the nonprofit where she worked, how they helped struggling families with rent, childcare, groceries. It doesn't pay much, she said, but it means something. He listened, nodding, genuinely interested. And your family? Nora sighed. My dad, Ken, he's complicated. Drinks too much, always asking for help. And Trevor, my brother, he gambles, like all the time. I've bailed him out more times than I can count. Why keep helping? She looked at her coffee like it held an answer. Guilt, I guess, or hope, maybe both. That afternoon, the doorbell buzzed. Nora opened it, and in stormed a burly man in a stained jacket, followed by a twitchy guy in a baseball cap. Lena, we need $500, Ken announced, brushing past Gavin like he didn't exist. Trevor's in trouble, again. I told you, Nora said, voice tense. I don't have it. I barely made rent this month. Trevor looked sheepish but said nothing. Ken just scoffed. You're always working that dog charity. It's time you did something that actually helps your family. Gavin stepped in, casual but firm. She said no. Ken turned, sizing him up. And who the hell are you? Just a friend, Gavin said, but I think you should leave. Ken's eyes narrowed, but Gavin didn't flinch. After a long moment, Ken muttered something under his breath and left, dragging Trevor behind him. The door slammed. Sorry about that, Nora said, rubbing her forehead. They're a lot. Gavin gave a half smile. I've dealt with worse. She looked at him, really looked. You're different. He just shrugged. You shouldn't have to handle them alone. Over the next few days, Gavin kept showing up, sometimes with groceries. They were on sale, he claimed, or with takeout from a diner 2 blocks over. One night he brought over a toolkit and fixed the wobbly kitchen table. Another day he painted over a peeling wall in the hallway, cracking jokes the whole time. You're too good at this, Nora teased. What's your deal? He laughed. Just a guy who likes helping out. In truth, he was testing a life he'd never had. No penthouse, no press releases. Just peeling walls and warm laughter. With Nora, it felt real. One rainy night, they sat on the couch eating instant noodles and watching reruns of old sitcoms. She leaned against him without thinking. He didn't move. His arm went around her, natural and unspoken. The city rumbled outside and inside, everything felt still. Hey, she said softly, not looking at him. You ever think about just disappearing? Starting fresh? He hesitated. Every damn day. And sitting there, in that tiny apartment with someone who didn't want anything from him but his company, Gavin wondered, for the first time in years, if maybe disappearing didn't mean losing everything. Maybe it meant finding something new. The next morning, The apartment smelled faintly of coffee and fresh paint, the walls still drying from Gavin's latest handiwork. Nora padded into the kitchen in wool socks, yawning, just as Gavin was flipping pancakes in a skillet far too small for his tall frame. He turned and grinned. "You hungry?" "Always," she mumbled, reaching for the mug he had already filled for her. It had become routine, unspoken, effortless. He knew how she liked her coffee, which drawer held the mismatched forks, when to talk and when to just exist beside her in silence. They sat by the window as the rain tapped lightly against the glass, steam curling from their plates. For a moment it felt like peace, until the doorbell rang, 3 sharp buzzes, impatient. Nora opened the door to find her father, Ken, flanked by her brother Trevor, and, unexpectedly, her mother, Diane, whose expression was tight and expectant. Nora's stomach dropped. "What now?" Ken wasted no time. "We need $1,000. Trevor's in deep, his bookie's threatening to break his damn legs." Diane added, arms crossed, "And we thought maybe your new roommate could help. You're practically living with a man now, might as well get something out of it." Nora's cheeks flamed. "Seriously?" Gavin stepped into view, his expression unreadable. "She's not your ATM." Trevor snorted. "Look, pretty boy, stay out of this." "I'm already in it," Gavin said, voice calm. "And I'm not giving you a dime." Ken took a step forward, eyes cold. "You think you're some kind of savior? You think you can come in here, play house with my daughter, and we'll just roll over?" She said no, Gavin replied evenly. "Respect it or leave." A long pause followed. Then Ken muttered something under his breath and turned to go, Trevor and Diane trailing behind. Nora slammed the door, her hands shaking. "I'm so sorry, they have no shame." "I've dealt with worse," Gavin said, then added, "But they're not going to stop, are they?" Nora's eyes glistened. "They never do." That night she curled up on the couch with Gavin, a blanket draped around her shoulders. He sat beside her, laptop open, working quietly as she watched an old movie. As the credits rolled, she looked over at him, studying his profile. "You know, you never really talk about your family." He didn't answer right away. Then he said, carefully, "There's not much to say." "Anyone you're close to?" she asked. "Used to be," he replied, "not anymore." She didn't push further, sensing the wall he wasn't ready to lower. 2 days later, she hosted a small fundraiser for New Roots at a community center in the East Village. Gavin offered to help, showing up in jeans and a hoodie, effortlessly blending in. He moved chairs, poured coffee, and disappeared behind the scenes, never drawing attention. Halfway through the event, a woman in a red trench coat and tall heels clicked into the room like she owned it. Celeste Reyes, all glossy lips and sharp eyes, zeroed in on Gavin with surgical precision. Well, Gavin Miles. Didn't expect to find you in a place like this," she purred. Gavin stiffened. "Celeste, it's been a while." "Still pretending to be a nobody?" she whispered, eyes glinting. "Cute." Nora watched from across the room, trying not to look bothered as Celeste leaned in too close. She handed Gavin a business card, fingers lingering. "We should catch up. Drinks?" He pulled away, polite but cold. "I'm busy." Celeste flashed a saccharine smile and sauntered off. Later, as they packed up, Nora couldn't help herself. "She's friendly." Gavin looked up. "Celeste, she's just noise." "Noise you used to date?" she asked, half teasing, half serious. He shrugged. "Long time ago, nothing to it now." Nora nodded but said no more. Still, doubt crept in. What they didn't know was that across the city, Ken and Trevor were meeting Celeste at a dingy bar. "He's too cozy with Nora," Ken said, slamming down a drink. "If they break up, she'll come crawling back. You want a piece of that trust fund life? Help us out." Trevor added, "Just flirt a little. Stir the pot." Celeste raised an eyebrow. "And what's in it for me?" Ken grinned. "Let's just say we know about that little tab you've got at the Belmont Casino." Celeste smirked, flipping her hair. "You drive a hard bargain, boys. Consider it done." While that plan brewed in secret, another ghost resurfaced. Nora found an envelope slid under the apartment door, scrawled in messy handwriting. "Nora Bennett, I think we met once, years ago. You saved me from doing something terrible. I need to explain. Dean." She read it twice, heart thudding. That night, as thunder rolled in the distance, Gavin found her standing by the window, clutching the note. "Who's Dean?" he asked gently. "I don't know. But I think he's from that night I can't remember." She didn't see the way Gavin's jaw tightened or the quiet war beginning behind his eyes. The letter stayed on the kitchen counter for 2 days before Nora worked up the courage to call the number scrawled on the bottom. When Dean answered, his voice was low and uncertain. They agreed to meet at a quiet cafe in Soho. Gavin offered to go with her, but she refused. "This is my past," she said gently. "I need to face it myself." He nodded, though unease crawled up his spine. Dean was already there when she arrived, nervously wringing his hands. He looked older than she expected, early 30s, worn eyes, twitchy fingers. "Thanks for coming," he said, rising awkwardly. Nora sat across from him. "You said we met before?" He nodded. 3 years ago, at the Silver Loop. You were not okay. Someone had slipped something in your drink. I saw it happen. I pulled you out, got you into your friend's car. But I didn't stick around. I should have." Nora's stomach turned. Her memories from that night were a blur, shadows and noise. She had always suspected something was wrong, but no one had confirmed it. "Why now?" Dean shrugged. "Guilt. I saw your name in a New Roots newsletter. Figured it was time." Nora didn't know what to feel. Relief, anger, closure. She left the cafe dazed, the weight of forgotten trauma pressing down on her chest. When she got home, Gavin was pacing. "How'd it go?" he asked. She told him everything, her voice low, hands trembling. Gavin listened quietly until she mentioned Dean, touching her shoulder at the end of their conversation. "That guy gives me a bad feeling," he said sharply. "What if he's lying? What if this is some scam?" Nora pulled back. "Why would he make that up? People do worse for less," Gavin snapped. "I don't trust him." Nora narrowed her eyes. "This isn't about him. It's about you. You've been acting weird for weeks. Always dodging questions about your past, always hiding something." He opened his mouth, then closed it. He couldn't tell her, not yet. The truth was too big, too dangerous. "I'm trying to protect you," he said instead. "From what?" she asked, her voice rising. "From closure? From someone helping me make sense of a night that's haunted me for years?" "No," Gavin said, softer now. "From getting hurt again." She stepped back, arms crossed. "You don't get to decide what I need. You're not in control of my story." He looked at her, eyes clouded. "I care about you more than you realize." She shook her head, grabbing her coat. "Then maybe you should stop lying." And just like that, she was gone, the door slamming behind her. Gavin stood in the silence, heart pounding. He'd survived boardroom betrayals, multi-million-dollar lawsuits, and the pressure of an empire. But none of it compared to this, the feeling of her walking away. The next morning, Nora didn't text. That night, she still hadn't come home. He tried calling. Nothing. It was like she'd vanished into the city's noise. Meanwhile, on the other side of Manhattan, Gavin's best friend, Marcus Doyle, was shaking his head. "You waited too long," Marcus said over the phone. "You wanted normal, but you can't build trust on a foundation of lies." "I know," Gavin whispered, "but I want to fix it." "You want my advice?" "Be bold. Be real. Do something she can't ignore." Gavin was already halfway out the door before Marcus finished the sentence. That same day, Nora was in a grant presentation at the New Roots office. The donor had sent a representative to finalize a $5 million contribution. As she sipped lukewarm coffee, her coworker Sarah leaned over, whispering, "You're gonna love this. Turns out the rep knows you." Before Nora could react, the door opened, and in walked Marcus, sharp suit and easy smile. Nora's stomach flipped. "Do I know you?" "Not exactly," Marcus said. "But I know Gavin. Gavin Miles, you're Gavin. He talks about you nonstop." The air shifted. Nora froze. "Gavin Miles?" Sarah gasped beside her. "Your roommate's a billionaire?" Nora stood up abruptly, her heart hammering. "No, my roommate's a liar." She stormed out, ignoring the questions and stares, her mind reeling. Gavin, her Gavin, was the CEO of Miles Group. The same man who fixed her faucet, who brought her bagels, who laughed at her corny jokes, who held her when she cried. When she reached the apartment, he was waiting, pacing like a man on fire. "Lena," he started, but she threw her bag on the floor. "You lied to me. For weeks. I asked you, and you let me believe." "I didn't want you to see me as a name," he said, voice cracking. "I didn't want to be another rich guy trying to buy his way into your life." "You became exactly that," she shouted, tears pooling in her eyes. "I trusted you. I fell for you," he said. "Not for what you do or what you could be, but for who you already are." She shook her head, voice breaking. "I don't even know who you are." And before he could say another word, she was gone again, leaving Gavin in the doorway, staring into the place where something beautiful had just fallen apart. 2 days passed, and Gavin didn't sleep. He lay on the couch in the apartment they had made a home together, peeling paint, uneven floorboards, mismatched dishes, all of it pulsing with her absence. Every time his phone lit up, his heart jumped. But it was never Nora. Just silence. He read old messages, remembered the first time she'd laughed at his terrible cooking, the way she curled up in his hoodie after a long day. He had ruined it, not with malice, but with fear. Fear that if she saw his full truth, she'd walk away. And now she had. That morning he called Marcus. "I need to do something. Big." "Big, like donation big?" Marcus asked. "No," Gavin said, pacing. "Big like, heart on my sleeve, can't ignore me big." Marcus sighed but didn't argue. "You're sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Later that afternoon, Nora walked through Times Square on her way home from a friend's apartment, her head down, earbuds in, trying to ignore the buzz of the world around her, until she heard her name, loud, echoing, and not in her head. Nora Bennett. She froze. It was coming from a megaphone. She looked up. There he was, Gavin, standing on a bench, holding a megaphone like a protester in a business hoodie. Behind him, an enormous LED screen blinked. "Nora Bennett, this is for you." People were gathering. Tourists, locals, phones lifted, a growing crowd of strangers watching her life unfold in neon. "I messed up," Gavin's voice rang out. "And yeah, I'm Gavin Miles, the rich kid, the CEO, the one who lied. But that's not who I want to be, not with you." He jumped down from the bench, walking toward her, megaphone lowered. "I was scared. You weren't like anyone I'd ever met. You didn't care about money or power or my last name. You cared about me, the guy who can't cook pasta without burning it, the guy who still doesn't know how to fold a fitted sheet, and I threw that away because I was terrified of losing it." Nora stood frozen, heart racing. "I love you," he said, pulling a folder from his jacket. "This is for new roots, a trust. 5 million, in your name, not to buy you back, but because I believe in what you're building." He handed it to her. She opened it with trembling fingers, blinking at the documents. It was real. A fund to expand housing access. Her dream, made tangible. "You're insane," she whispered. He smiled, eyes soft. "Maybe, but I want to be your insane, the one who wakes up every day and fights over what show to watch, the one who dances badly in the kitchen, the one who never lies again." Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver ring. No diamond, no fanfare, just a band. "Marry me, Nora, not the CEO, just me." For a beat, she said nothing. The crowd hushed. Even the city seemed to pause. Then Nora laughed, tears streaking down her cheeks. "You're such an idiot," she said. "But yeah, I will." Cheers erupted around them as he slipped the ring on her finger. He pulled her close and they kissed. Messy, tear-streaked, honest. The screen behind them still blinked her name, but she no longer cared who was watching. A week later, they packed up the Brooklyn apartment and moved to a small house in Nyack, nestled near the Hudson River. The place smelled of cedar and fresh paint, with a porch that creaked and a view that glowed gold at sunset. Gavin traded skyscrapers for quiet mornings, emails for scrambled eggs. Nora still worked at New Roots, now the head of the Bennett Fund, championing housing reform across the city. One chilly morning, Gavin danced barefoot in the kitchen, flipping pancakes to a song that only he liked. Nora wandered in, wrapped in a blanket, watching him with sleepy affection. "You're still a terrible dancer," she teased, stealing a piece from the plate. He grinned. "And you're stuck with me now." She kissed his cheek, then looked out the window. The river shimmered in the morning light, calm and endless. "We're a mess," she said. Gavin pulled her into a hug. "Yeah, but we're our mess." Outside, the world kept spinning. But inside that little house by the river, love had finally found a place to stay. Not perfect, not polished, but real, and that was enough. Life lesson from beneath the silence. At the heart of Gavin and Nora's story lies a powerful lesson. Love rooted in honesty will always be stronger than love built on illusion. Gavin had everything, wealth, status, power, but what he truly longed for was something money could never buy, someone who saw him, not his name. Nora, burdened by a messy past and a family that constantly didn't need a hero. She needed a partner who stood beside her, not in front of her. Their journey shows us that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the bridge to real connection. Gavin's fear of being seen for who he truly was nearly cost him the very thing he most cherished. And Nora's courage to stand up for herself, to question, to walk away, was the very thing that forced truth to rise to the surface. In a world obsessed with appearances and power, this story reminds us that the greatest strength is found in truth, forgiveness, and choosing each other even when it's hard. Sometimes the most extraordinary love stories are born not from perfection, but from the willingness to show up, to be real, and to stay even after the secrets unravel. Where are you watching this from? We'd love to know. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another tale of resilience, love, and second chances. Your support keeps these stories alive.